Look at the events you've written down. Is it real to you that the conclusion you reached, "I'm stupid," is a valid interpretation of those events? Can you agree that virtually any child at that age and in those situations would have reached a similar conclusion? Now we're going to play the possibilities game. Well, imagine that 4 friends of yours are visiting you and looking at a videotape of the event you just wrote down. Your interpretation of those events when you were a child was, "I'm stupid." That is one valid interpretation of your teacher's behavior and comments. That interpretation wasn't wrong, but there are other reasonable interpretations of the same childhood events that you didn't think of as a child. So let's ask each of your friends for another alternative interpretation. Can you see that one friend might well say, "You might not have known as much as some of the other kids in your class, but that doesn't mean you're a stupid human being"? Couldn't this interpretation explain those events in your childhood just as well as your interpretation, that I'm stupid? Here's what your second friend says. Your teachers had unreasonable expectations. That's why you couldn't live up to them. After all, if their expectations were appropriate, you probably would have met them, wouldn't you? Doesn't this interpretation also explain those events in your childhood just as well as your interpretation, that I'm stupid? Here's a third possible interpretation of your childhood events that one of your friends suggests. Different people learn in different ways. Some people learn by listening, some by reading, some by doing. Your teachers just weren't teaching you in your learning style. If they had done what they should have done, you would have done much better in school. Doesn't this interpretation also explain those events in your childhood just as well as your interpretation, that I'm stupid? Your childhood interactions with your teachers could have had lots of meanings. Here's one your fourth friend suggests. Your teacher's reaction to you had nothing to do with you being stupid. Their reaction was a function of their own beliefs and their lack of teaching ability. They were unable to engage you and explain things so you could learn. That was their problem, not yours. Couldn't any one of these interpretations explain your childhood experiences in school just as well as your interpretation, I'm stupid? Of course they can. So is it real to you that a belief you've lived with almost your entire life, something you thought was a fact, is not a fact, isn't the truth at all? It's only a truth, merely one interpretation of many possible interpretations of earlier events, right? Please continue to interact totally with this program in order for it to work, and that includes answering my questions out loud, even if your answer is only yes or no. So let me repeat the question. Do you get that I'm stupid is not a fact? It's not the truth, but just a truth, merely one interpretation of many possible interpretations of earlier childhood events? I'll bet you do now. With a little help from me and your friends, you can see that your teacher's negative comments, or your low grades, could have at least 4 different reasonable interpretations or meanings. Do you remember what you wrote down a few minutes ago as the source of your belief, I'm stupid? Look at the text box below on your screen. Right now, imagine seeing what you saw then and hearing what you heard then. Now take a few moments and really imagine the events of your childhood that led you to forming the belief, I'm stupid. Didn't it seem when you were a child as if you could actually see I'm stupid in those early events with your teachers? It did, didn't it? You may have the sense that you didn't see the belief, you felt it. Once you formed the belief, I'm stupid, you probably did feel it. I'll get back to the feeling in a minute, but what I'd like you to focus on now is not the feeling, but on my question. Didn't it seem as if you saw I'm stupid? As if you could point to it? As if you could have said to me if I was in the classroom with you, with the teacher talking to you, "Can't you see I'm stupid?" I didn't hear you. Did you say yes? Now that you think you saw I'm stupid as a child, I'd like you to look again. Did you really see I'm stupid? If you did, what does I'm stupid look like? Can you point to it? Does I'm stupid have a color, a shape, location? Is it real that I'm stupid is an assessment and you can't see an assessment? Is it real to you now that you saw events, but never really did see I'm stupid? If anything you can really see can be described, and if you can't describe what I'm stupid looks like, is it clear now that you never saw it? And since you never really saw I'm stupid, what did you actually see? Is it clear now that all you really saw was the reaction of one or more teachers and heard their comments, or you saw your performance when you were being taught in a way that wasn't clear to you? In other words, all you really saw was a series of events. You see, what happened was that you looked at a series of events that can be interpreted in many different ways. You gave the events one meaning, which was I'm stupid. By attributing that specific meaning to the event, each time you saw or heard your teachers, it was as if you could see that meaning in their comments and behavior. But you didn't discover the meaning in the events, you gave the meaning to the events. They had no meaning before you created one. Is it real now that the events had no meaning until you gave one to them? Here's another way to understand that events have no inherent meaning. When I say that, I'm saying you don't know anything for sure about you, about other people, about life, as a result of these experiences. What do I know for sure about you from knowing how your teachers treated you when you were a child? Is it clear that I wouldn't know anything? And if I don't know anything, you don't either. All you know for sure is what actually happened. Your teachers made negative comments, and perhaps you didn't get very good grades in school. And finally, if you never saw I'm stupid out there in the world, where's it been all these years? Did I hear you say that I'm stupid has only ever existed in your mind? That you never did see it out there in the world? That's right. Now, if the belief is more real to you as a feeling than as a concept, here's another way to look at it. Didn't it seem as if your teacher's behavior and comments, and perhaps your grades, when you were a child made you feel I'm stupid? It did, didn't it? But you just agreed that the events have no meaning. Is it possible for events that have no meaning to make you feel I'm stupid, or anything else for that matter? Of course not. So if your teacher's comments and your grades couldn't have made you feel I'm stupid, what did make you feel that? By now I think you know the answer to that question. That's right. You felt that only because that's the meaning you had already given to your teacher's comments. Let me help you make this real. Imagine that I had been there when you were a little child, and had shown you the alternative interpretations for your teacher's comments. And after that conversation you concluded, my teachers just aren't teaching me in my learning style. If they had, I would have done much better. Here's what I'd like you to do now. Take a moment and really imagine being a child, and your teachers make negative comments about your ability or your grades. As you imagine the events, apply this different interpretation to their behavior. Notice how it feels to be a child who's thinking, my teachers just weren't teaching me in my learning style. If they had, I would have done much better. You can use the pause button below to pause the video while you make this childhood scenario more real for yourself. When you're done imagining, press the play button. As you imagine this scene, does it still feel like your teacher's words and actions are making you feel I'm stupid? Probably not. And if you didn't feel I'm stupid then, would you feel it now? Again, the answer is no. So your teacher's comments or grades never caused you to feel I'm stupid. That feeling came from your interpretation of their comments or grades. And since your feelings were not caused by events in reality, they were only the result of a meaning you made up to explain the events, is it real that the feelings you had when your teacher said negative things to you didn't tell you anything at all about whether or not you're stupid? They didn't, did they? Okay, now take a deep breath, let it out slowly, and then say out loud, I'm stupid. Is it the truth? Does it still feel like the truth? Your answer is very important here. Unless the belief is 100% gone and the words don't feel true at all, you probably still have the belief. Remember, holding a belief is like being pregnant. You either is or you ain't. There's no sort of. If the belief is still there, it probably still seems like you saw it. Once it no longer seems as if you saw him stupid in those early events, the belief will be gone. So please click the repeat button to repeat that step of the process. If the belief is gone, please click continue.